All right, today we are talking about Göbekli Tepe. And look, this isn't just another ancient ruin. This is a discovery that is literally rewriting the first chapter of our history. It challenges everything we thought we knew about our ancient ancestors. I want you to just think about something for a second. What if the history you learned in school is just plain wrong? What if the whole story is backwards? You know the idea that first we invented farming, then we built cities, and then we got religion? Well, what if religion came first? What if we built these massive, incredible structures before we even knew how to farm? So this is Göbekli Tepe. It's this incredible 12,000-year-old mystery tucked away in southern Turkey. For the longest time, it was just a hill. Didn't look like much. But what was buried underneath? Well, it's something that is turning our history books completely upside down. Okay, to really get how mind-blowing this is, you gotta see it on a timeline. We all know Stonehenge, right? Well, Göbekli Tepe is 7,000 years older than Stonehenge. The Great Pyramids? This place predates them by a whopping 7,500 years. It's so ancient it makes the pyramids look like a recent project. We are talking about a time so deep in the past, it's hard to even wrap your head around it.
And here is the absolute kicker. The people who built this massive complex, they weren't farmers. They didn't have metal tools. They didn't even have pottery. They were hunter-gatherers. Now, the old story always went like this. First, we learned to farm, then we settled down, and then, and only then, do we have the time and resources to build big temples. Göbekli Tepe just takes that rulebook and rips it to shreds.
So, if hunter-gatherers pull this off, what in the world is this place? Let's dive in and take a look at the secrets hidden in these stones.
What archaeologists have found is just wow. We're seeing these huge circular enclosures, and right in the middle, you have these massive T-shaped pillars. Some of them weigh over 50 tons. I mean, just stop and think about that. How did a society of hunter-gatherers move 50-ton blocks of stone? It would have taken incredible cooperation, a level of social organization we just didn't think was possible back then. And these pillars aren't just plain old rocks. No way. They are covered, absolutely covered, in these amazing, detailed reliefs of animals. We're talking foxes, snakes, boars, birds, you name it. The skill here is just off the charts. This wasn't some random doodling. This was the work of master craftspeople. It's sophisticated, it's symbolic, and it is anything but primitive.
So all this incredible detail and massive scale leads us right to the big question. What was Göbekli Tepe for?
Right now, there are two big ideas on the table, two competing theories. On one hand, could this have been the world's very first temple, a sacred hub for spiritual gatherings? Or was it something else? Maybe an ancient observatory, a place to track the stars and cosmic events.
All right, let's explore that first theory, the one that sees this place as the very first sign of faith on a grand scale.
So the lead archaeologist who found the site, a guy named Klaus Schmidt, he was convinced this was the world's first cathedral. His team points out there's no evidence of anyone actually living there. No houses, no cooking pits, nothing. That suggests it was a place of pilgrimage, right? People traveled there for special rituals. And those T-shaped pillars, they think they might be stylized humans, maybe gods or ancestors watching over them. So the idea is the need to come together and build this incredible sacred site, that is what kicked off civilization. Religion didn't come from civilization. Civilization came from religion.
But then, there's another theory. A much more dramatic, maybe even controversial one. This theory says the builders weren't just looking for spiritual connection. They were looking up at the sky.
And it all centers on this one specific pillar. Pillar 43, also known as the Vulture Stone. The people who support this theory say, hey, look closer. This isn't just a random collection of animal carvings. This is a message. It's a story written in the stars. The thinking goes like this. The animals on the stone aren't just animals. They're star signs. They seem to match up with the positions of constellations in the sky almost 13,000 years ago. That scorpion? That's Scorpius. The vulture? That could be Sagittarius. So what we might be looking at, they argue, is nothing less than a prehistoric star map, etched in stone.
So why would they go to all this trouble? Well, here's where it gets really wild. The theory suggests this pillar is a memorial, a kind of date stamp for a terrible, catastrophic event. They believe it marks a comet strike, a comet that hit the Earth around 10,950 BCE and kicked off a mini ice age we now call the Younger Dryas. And that little headless man at the bottom, That could represent the massive loss of life from this global disaster.
Okay, but before we get too carried away, the actual archaeology team on the ground, they're not really buying it. They have some pretty strong counter-arguments. For one, the pillars have been moved around over thousands of years, so trying to find an original star alignment is pretty much impossible. Two, they think these structures were probably roofed, which, makes it kind of hard to see the stars. And maybe the biggest issue is the timing. There's more than a 1,000-year gap between when this comet supposedly hit and when we know for sure this site was being built.
So, a temple? An observatory? Where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with one of history's greatest puzzles. And the most exciting part? The story is nowhere near finished.
Because here's the thing, what we've seen so far, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Using ground-penetrating radar, they've discovered that this entire hill is man-made. It's hiding dozens more of these massive enclosures. We've only excavated something like 5% of the whole site. Just imagine what else is still buried down there, waiting.
Göbekli Tepe has already completely changed our understanding of our own past. It's proof that our story is so much deeper, so much more complex, and way more mysterious than we ever gave ourselves credit for. And it leaves us with one simple but huge question. If we were so wrong about this, what else are we wrong about?